and privilege to speak to the audience today about this very important topic. What I'm hoping to share in the next few minutes is really from a both business and also from the technology perspective of why it is so important that we promote inclusive environment for the full implementation of CRPD. In the past 9 months since March, the COVID-19, I think everybody has begun to realize how important it is for technology to connect all of us. And technology today underpins everything we do, how we learn, how we work, how we socialize, how we play. So without technology, we really, as a society, would not be able to function. And because of that, as we think about implementation of inclusive environment, the virtual environment or the digital environment is just as important. And I would say that UN CRPDs actually has set the new high ground and also set the stage for private sectors to really pay attention, because for the first time, we were able to rally around a policy or global policy that really allowed us to set our sight high and use the technology not just for personal kind of gain, but for the society at large, to increase the society, not just productivity, but the harmony. But as we think about technology implementation for inclusive society, what are some of the angles that we have to think about? And I think it actually covers both the spectrums. On the individual level, we are now as individuals really should and could really rely on technology to enable us to improve our quality of life or independent living scenario. Everybody, most people around the world now have some kind of a cell phone. Even if it's not a smartphone, just the connection of a mobile device has created a tremendous amount of freedom and access. On the other side, we have companies, organizations, whether you are a for-profit organization or a nonprofit organization, it is so important that you provide the overall environment that enable the inclusive work environment, not just for hiring of people with disability, but also making sure that they progress and also thrive in your work environment. In the past few years, we actually have seen the technology being used in many of the large enterprises, using technology to enable the hiring people with different abilities, starting with people who are blind, who are deaf, and now we have seen the technology being used to help neurodiversity or cognitive disabled people. So these are very encouraging trends as to companies, just as like government setting policies, companies are beginning to understand and really welcome the participation of people with disability in their workforce and in their workplace, and they're leveraging technology to do so. And today, if you think about the innovation of some of the even more advanced technology like artificial intelligence or virtual reality, I see the possibility as even more limitless, as these technologies, what I call the human-first technology. The technology has moved significantly from the old days when it really was meant to optimize, for example, large amount of data processing to improve the data processing productivity and efficiency. But now the technology is in everybody's hand in the form factor like a cell phone. So the technology has become very much consumerized or humanized. And because of that, we now have access to technology on an individual basis, and we can participate the technology through kind of an open dialogue, because again, thanks to this technology, we can have leverage or channels such as social media to give businesses or the inventor of technology immediate feedback from a user perspective. So from that standpoint, we really are entering in a different world and different stage, and in that the human first kind of thinking has to come into the design thinking of any technologist or any company provide services or product. In this case, earlier we talked about we heard from the Minister of Finland about their goal of setting, for example, 1 million accessible dwellings by 2030. And one can imagine these kind of dwelling of the future is going to be a smart home, probably equipped with all kinds of Internet of Things sensors that's interconnected and provide the intelligence to enable people who are, for example, aging or people who are disability, and be able to use things like voice command to navigate their daily experience. And that kind of technology can also apply to transportation in the form of autonomous vehicle, and then also in terms of workplace technology, such as using smart AI and intelligent AI, and also trusted AI to avoid, for example, unconscious bias in the workplace. And these are all actually technology are being developed and invented in many cases by startup companies. And which actually bring to one of the point I want to emphasize is that as we begin to implement CRPD as UN, as the global most respected organization that can help businesses and private sector to set the next agenda, in this case, digital agenda, it is actually very important to consider the entire ecosystem from both the enterprise customers, large customers, medium-sized, small business, but also includes startup. I'm very focused on making sure that this whole message and whole desire of an inclusive implementation environment, implementation message actually get passed on to the startup, because startups actually are the next generation of the technology company that will provide us with different kind of solutions. Another thing that I would say that as we go into the next phase of the CRPD implementation, especially on a year of a COVID-19 and Black Lives Matters, we see the impact of global pandemics and also social justice movements. Together, this again, really, I think is a call to action time where we have to think about technology inclusion, not just as assistive technology implementation, but as an innovation. And this is a great time to combine social conscious and also social impact kind of thinking along with technology to come up with a new way of thinking about the solution that actually impact not just profit, but also purpose and also value of the individual. And I would just also say that one of the opportunity that we have in front of us actually is with CRPD and also UN leadership, we can begin to think about different business models that encourage businesses not just focusing on profit, but combining the ideal that what we are talking today, which is inclusion, and how to operationalize inclusion through a very methodical, holistic, and also business-oriented end-to-end process. So we view this not as a one-off, sometimes a philanthropical or kind of a charity initiatives, but really as a holistic business imperatives. So with that, I would just end my talk also to say that we have seen that people with disability and the technology innovation for people with disability as a great intersectionality and universality applying to across all gender, race, religion, and all that. So we actually should use this opportunity to dial up the accessibility or digital inclusion, not just for people with disability, because of the impact actually can affect all of us. So thank you very much for the time to speak to the audience today.
Thank you so much, Ms. West. I appreciate that. At this time, allow me to introduce